My name is Ryan Gentry. I'm a senior here at USD. So I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. We were just talking about that. It's pretty toasty, so I'm loving the San Diego weather. I joined InterVarsity let me think, wow, second semester of my freshman year. It feels so long ago. But I actually had heard about it before I even became a USD student. My youth pastor back in Arizona, who was a USD alumni and was part of InterVarsity when he was here, he actually told me, like, I sat down with him and he said, oh, you gotta join IV like right when you get to USD. And then when I got here, I just kind of was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just do my own thing at first when I get to college. And then I found myself, like, after that first semester of freshman year, like, I really missed having like a faith community. And so I went to their very last meeting of the fall semester in 2016. And then the next semester I started going to the regular spaces. And then my sophomore year I joined student leadership team. It means a lot. InterVarsity's been huge in my growth just as a person, as like a Christian, as a person of mixed race, as a student, as a man. Like it's influenced every aspect of my life. And it's helped me to grow a lot through my college career. It's solidified a lot of my identity, I think, not just as a person that participates in this club on campus, but just in other areas of my life and my own personal identity. And to have that is huge. And I wanted to join leadership team and join InterVarsity so I could help bring that to other people and help them to have that same experience that I had going through this process. I just think it's important in the general aspect for like college students or just people in general to really enter those kind of spaces to have conversations about faith and like what you were talking about, racial injustice and ethnicity, and just really figure out, you know, what do you believe in and you know, what can we learn from other traditions too.
Hi, so I'm Kimberlyn Kettles, and I'm the InterVarsity Staff Director here at USD. So I actually graduated from USD in 2016 from the business school, and I was involved as a student leader. So I kind of been in InterVarsity for a while before that, and then I came on staff full-time after that. So this is my 4th year. So I feel like in order to answer the question about racial injustice, we have to kind of zoom back out a little bit. And so just to give you some context, one of InterVarsity's main values is talking about God's multi-ethnic heart and the fact that humanity is multi-ethnic. And so one of the ways that we like to do that is to zoom out and understand, like, what is our own ethnic story, no matter what that is, including that white people do have an ethnicity. And so one of our aims on campus is to start that conversation in order to be able to engage in issues of injustice or fight them. So one of the ways that we do that is talking about how colorblindness isn't the answer to solving our society's issues, that actually to see the whole person is where we have to start, to see the beauty and the brokenness of their story. We feel like it's our responsibility as Christians to start restoring those relationships and righting the wrongs that have been made, and that's not something the church talks about a lot, and so it's something that we like to help people think about in InterVarsity, especially as like central to their faith, that we're actually involved in the ministry of reconciling people to each other and ultimately people with God. Okay, so we believe as Christians that we are made in the image of God, and so that means that each person represents and reflects different pieces of God. And so we look around at the fact that people look different and they have different cultures and they have different ways of approaching problems and thinking. Those are all different pieces of who God is, that there's not one way that God should be represented in one culture, even if the majority culture looks one way in a certain environment. So that we love the idea that, like, God is a diverse God and he created people to be different. And we get to see a fuller picture of God when those things come together. And actually, I wasn't raised understanding it this way, but that's something that InterVarsity helped me understand. And actually, the Christian Bible, like scripture, is filled with examples of Jesus combating racism all over the place. There's a moment where Jesus as a Jewish man interacts with a Samaritan woman at a well, and she was like an outcast person in her society. And the Samaritans and the Jews were really racially opposed to each other. And he enters into that conversation with her with a lot of love and humility and starts breaking down the idea that that should be the case. And so he goes through all these moments of interacting with people across racial lines that really upset the people in power at the time. And I could go on like a million examples of like looking at scripture through that lens, that Jesus is not okay with racism, and the lines that other people drew were like not the way things should be. So for me, this has been game changing. Like as a white woman who grew up in like an evangelical church, non-denominational setting, and my parents are in law enforcement, so that just adds another layer to this conversation. I never thought about ethnicity as related to my faith at all before InterVarsity. And in fact, I was like actually like opposed to thinking that had anything to do with the gospel. And it was like felt threatening to me to think about how those things could go together. And since then, like everything has changed. Now I think I understand that as a white woman, I have an ethnic identity. There's pieces of what I bring to the table that are good, and there's things that really are not okay that I've had to learn to navigate. And as a director in the organization, and even when I was a student leader, if you're going to lead people from different ethnicities, you have to be aware of what things you bring to the table that could be unhelpful in crossing over culture. And so now it's like I cannot untangle my faith from the fact that like I have a part to play in the history of where I live, and that I have to own pieces of that. And so for me to go out and engage in the Black Lives Matter movement, which is something I never would have pictured doing as a student, as a freshman, now is something that I feel compelled to do because of my faith, to say that there are systems that are oppressing people, and there's things that that's not okay. God's a God of justice, and we want to be a group that helps empower each other to be a part of that authentically. So a big way that we've done that in the past, we help, if a student comes on our leadership team, one of the parts of their discipleship, like of their formation, looks like looking into their own ethnic story first and starting to break down that stuff and identify where they're coming from. I feel like the church has been weirdly silent on this for a long time, and it's cool that you're giving us a platform to talk about how that's not the way things should be.